But mainly the idea of control is the time of feeling like you're in control is over. And everyone is being ushered into some kicking and screaming, others happily, like I'm happily welcoming it. Because to me, it's, you know, I've I sort of known I haven't had any control for a long time over life, that life is so arbitrary, like things can just happen, or it seems so arbitrary. In hindsight, of course, it's beautiful. It's got this fantastic movement to it, and it's all, oh, yeah, that all had to happen. Like I just have to think about myself and my wife, Maggie. Like I'm from Dublin and she's from Papua New Guinea. So, I mean, the chances of us meeting and falling in love and having a life together are so slim, like really slim. And if I was to try and organize that and control it, I don't know why I would even think that, why I would be going in Dublin, going, I must meet a woman from who's from Papua New Guinea. I mean, we didn't meet in Papua New Guinea, we met in Australia. So, I mean, the amount of things that had to happen for that to happen is mind-boggling, and that, I mean, that's just an extreme example, but there are so many examples in my life, and I'm sure in your life, when you think about it, of, if I hadn't made that phone call, if I hadn't missed that train, if I hadn't been standing on that corner, my life would have gone a completely different direction, all the way along. So in hindsight, it's like, oh yeah, this beautiful majestic plan. But on this side of it, it just doesn't feel like that. It feels like, what's going to happen next? I don't know what's going to happen next. I'd like to know what's going to happen next. And that's understandable, but that's just a part of me that wants to feel like that. The bigger part of me doesn't want to know what's going to happen because it would be boring. I know that because I never want to know what's going to happen in a movie, ever. I think I've said this before. If somebody says to me, "Oh, what film are you going to watch?" and I'd say the name. Oh yeah. Oh look, it works out in the end. You're like, what do you mean? Oh, they nearly die, but then it all comes good in the end. I'm like, oh, what'd you tell me that for? Like, well, you know, it's kind of scary when they're nearly going to die. So I just didn't want you to get scared. I'm like, well, now you've ruined it. I'm like, well, I mean, what do you mean? Well, um, I wanted to just watch it. I wanted to enjoy the experience of watching the movie. And I'm like, yeah, but aren't you glad that it worked out? I'm like, yeah, yeah, but it's kind of not the same. It's just lost something. So I think that's a kind of a clue for, even though part of me, you know, the part of me that wants to know and wants to control is the same part of me that in the middle of the movie that I don't know the ending to, where, the person is hanging off the cliff and it looks like they're going to fall. And I'm kind of going, oh, what's going to happen? I don't do that, actually do that in a cinema, of course. Well, no one's going to cinemas anyway. But yeah, it's the same part. So it's kind of part of the fun to go, what's going to happen? And it only becomes a problem when you get really concerned about that and you get really distressed. And sadly, a lot of people are really distressed right now because they're like, what's going to happen? All the things I thought were certain are not certain anymore. But the reality is, like, none of it was certain. It just had a feeling of being certain. But really, it wasn't, because arbitrary things happen all the time, and you kind of know that arbitrary things happen all the time. So